welcome back to a very special edition of the podcast. Today we have a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce
What's up,
yourself.
everybody? My name is Small and Mean Selena Dean. Also, New Money Selena Dean. I'm a professional wrestler.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm living the dream, man.
There you go. Definitely nothing wrong with that. So, what can you tell me about yourself?
So I am a uh, independent professional wrestler from the Cincinnati area. I was trained by Roger Ruffin at the Northern Wrestling Federation. I am 28 years old. And just out here doing it.
So, I'm always curious when talking to professional wrestlers is what inspired you to become a wrestler? Some people say it was just, watching the product or it was one or more specific people.
So how I got into professional wrestling is my grandfather and me used to watch professional wrestling all the time, like WWF, WWE, and I don't know. I remember him telling me all the time when I was a kid. He was like, "Hey, this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're meant to do." So when he passed, I kind of made a mental note. I was like, I'm gonna be a professional wrestler. So it it kind of took me a little bit to get started in it. I had a little bit of a life detour, if you will, but luckily enough, I did get into it, and it's been one of the best things that I've done besides acting wise. It's really been a tremendous outlet for me.
Very cool. So, do you have a wrestler that you looked up to when you started watching wrestling?
So when I first started watching wrestling when I was a kid, it was obviously The Rock, because everybody was like, "Oh, Stone Cold, Stone Cold," and I was like, "No, like it's The Rock." But when um, I started watching it by myself after he had passed, I really enjoyed watching Batista all the time. He was hands down my favorite wrestler. I will argue with everybody to the end of time. I will die on that hill that Batista is a phenomenal wrestler.
I've heard that from several people that just the
Well, good.
overall character, that he had, was basically him turned up once he got to be Batista. I like the stuff when he was with Devon too, when he first got into the company.
Yeah, yeah. And then also I remember I used to get OVW like replays like in Hamilton. It used to be on the CW network, like off the antenna, and I remember watching like older matches that they had in the vault, and that they would play like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I would always like wake up and go and watch the old matches that he had when he was still in training. As a Leviathan and stuff like that, and that just like thrilled me that uh, I watched him kind of like grow up, even though it was kind of a couple years past since he had been in, but it was still nice to see like the come up.
Yeah, yeah, and you're exactly right. When you watch the earlier vignettes and things of that nature with him, it showed that he had the talent to do it. He just hadn't found that right character yet. But of course, nobody knew at that time
Yeah,
that he was going to be as big a star as he was in the ring and as he is now.
yeah, exactly. And he overcame a lot, and I really resonated with him as a person. not only as a wrestler, um, but I feel like I definitely connected with his story of like his personal life. Because to be quite honest, when he released his book a long time ago, that was kind of one of the, like, I have a real problem like reading and stuff. That was the first book that I've ever asked to be bought, and I got that as a my only Christmas present one year when I was in middle school, and I read that book so quick, and I read it like quite a few times, and it really struck a chord with me. I was like, this is why I'm drawn to him, is because we're the same. Like, it's literally the same person, just different periods of time.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. His upbringing and all that. There's no reason at all why he should be where he is, but the hard work and perseverance. Hard work pays off, and he's proof.
Yeah, like I definitely agree. All the odds are stacked against numerous amounts of people, and you have to choose whether or not you're gonna let your come up define you as a person your whole life, or it can just be a chapter, and that's what he chose to do. And that's what I choose to do as well. With coming like going forward, I choose not to let where I came up at and how I grew up. I choose not to bring that into my future. It can stay in the past, and I thank it for like developing me and making me a good person, a strong person, um, and that work ethic that you get from the bring up like that. It makes you one of a kind.
Very true, and it makes it so you can pretty much get through just about any situation that comes your way, no matter whether it's detrimental or whether it's something that you have to overcome or.
Oh, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, I mean
Oh no, you're good.
it helps you get through situations, whether it be detrimental or something you have to overcome. It helps create the person you're gonna be, whether it be good or bad.
Right.
Um, so
Yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of people, they take for granted, like how good they had it. But luckily enough, there's a bunch of people like me and him who uh, will gladly take that and run with it, because
exactly,
we're sick of what we had, and we appreciate it, but we're on the come up, baby.
that's it. And I kind of have a similar background or childhood, and it's one of those things where it's all in what you make of it.
Yeah, yeah. Some people choose to let that define them, and they choose to wallow in the self pity, like, oh well, I had this, or I had this happen. It's like, that's great. I had stuff that happened to me, if not worse than that, and I choose not to let it keep coming with me. And I feel bad for the people who just sit there and let it harp on them their whole
Yeah,
life, and it's kind of
yeah,
sad. You got to hustle for yours. You don't pity the pitiful.
that's it. So when it comes down to your wrestling career, how long have you been a wrestler?
You cut out
When
again.
it comes down to your wrestling career, how long have you been a wrestler?
Mm. How long have I been wrestling?
Absolutely.
Was
It
that the
was.
question? Okay. So it keeps like cutting out like right as you about to finish the question. Um, so I've been wrestling since 2018. Um, I started training 2018, and then I started in ring work on shows and stuff also in the same
Very
year.
cool. So I often ask wrestlers that I've talked to, how would you classify your in-ring style as, like, you got the high flyers, the brawlers, you know, what would you classify yourself as?
I definitely classify myself as my feet don't leave the ground unless absolutely necessary. Um, I'm definitely the brawler of the match. I would say because I have a background in mixed martial arts. I did that all through high school, and I was an amateur wrestler um, from you know elementary school on to high
Okay.
school.
That's very, 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 very cool. You don't see a whole lot of people
Yeah,
nowadays, uh, because I think a lot of granted, a lot of it's showmanship, but I think a lot of people want to do the off the top rope and
hmm
a lot of flips and stuff. And I know myself personally, I like to see people just get down and dirty.
yeah, yeah. That's the wrestling that I really enjoy watching is people telling a story and they're telling it at a pace that you can like go with and they make it mean something. Now, I do like to watch high flying stuff, but at the same time you're not getting a match, you're getting a gymnastics show, which there's there's no hate in it. I definitely respect everybody who is above me in that aspect, but that's too much for me. I can't do
No,
that.
and I get it. I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, it looks really cool when they do it, but I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard one of the legends of wrestling say in an interview that when you do stuff like that, you continually have to top what you do, and it makes it harder and harder to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you got to think about the long term. You got to wrestle smart and think about yourself here in like 10, 10, 20 years. And there's a reason that some people last in wrestling well into their 80s, and then there's also some people that are out well into their 30s. So you kind of got to pick and
Yeah,
choose
kind
what
of
you
work
want to
smarter,
do.
not harder situation.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so as far as moveset, how did you come up with your moveset? Okay.
It cut out
As
again.
far as your moveset, how did you come up with your moveset?
Yeah, I heard move set. So I watch. There's a. They always tell you you got to pick like three of your favorite wrestlers and kind of um, pick from them and stuff and kind of like morph it into like who you are. Um, I I don't know. I kind of I'm very limited on what I can do. Um, being a heel because you I don't do anything flashy because I don't need to. My mouth does everything that's flashy. I can talk really good, so that's a move set. That's a move. Um, but I took a lot of stuff from folk style wrestling, um, Bam Bam Bigelow. Um, Unfortunately, not Batista because like I am strong, but like I'm realistic. I can't be out here power bombing everybody. So you kind of gotta pick and choose wisely what you can do at the beginning of the match, in the middle of the match, and then at the end of the match. Um, that way you don't kind of play yourself. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, my finish is a power bomb. Well, I'm gassed 5 minutes in and I can't lift you up like that. That becomes dangerous, and you gotta think really hard about it
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. I mean, and I would imagine that with so many different legends in the business, and so many, people like yourself coming up. It's kind of hard to pick and choose, when it comes down to a move set.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people I wish I could, be like, but at the end of the day, I know you got to know your limits, and that's kind of where that's where I'm at. You got to know your limits and know what you can do, and if you can make it look good, because if it doesn't look good,
Right.
then
So,
it's not
what
working
do
for
you
you.
like about being a heel? Is it easier to be a heel than it is to be a babyface, you think?
Easier, absolutely, because in a lot of people in acting say the only time that you're a method actor is when you're a bad guy, because it's so easy for people to be mean, and it's so easy to like insult somebody, especially if you know the person. It's very easy to go out and just be mad at everybody, and I really appreciate that because I'm angry all the time. Um, but I've been baby a handful of times, and it was fun, like getting the people behind you and stuff like that. But I could care less if people liked me or not. So I'm just like, I'll save that one
Right.
for
And
literally
I've
anybody
heard
else.
that a lot too, where being a heel is so much easier, like you said, because you can. It's easy to make somebody hate you. It's very hard to make somebody like you. So,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's super hard, um, especially if you come around and people don't know you. It's hard for them to be like, I guess we like her, but some people are just really likable, like right off the rip, and then some
yeah,
people it's
yeah.
just like you really
So,
got to work for it.
as far as promotions that you've wrestled in, do you just stay in the Ohio area, or have you ventured out?
Yeah, I go a lot of places. I go to Michigan a lot. I go to Kentucky a lot. Indiana quite a few times. Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi. Um, I'm working on going elsewhere, but flights are kind of iffy, so it's like you're kind of like on the fence about everything, especially if they want to pay you gas and stuff like that. So a lot of like far trips have been kind of like
Is there
put on a hold
any
for a second.
promotions, independent or not, that you would eventually like to work for?
I'd really like to go out to Mission Pro Wrestling, the one in Texas, A, because I really like Texas. Um, and B, I'm pretty sure that's the one that's owned by Thunder Rosa. Um, I've had a couple people that I train with, and they've been out there, and it's very nice, a very well run show. So I would love to go out there and give that a shot. Also, FSW in Vegas, they have a lot of people that I watch on YouTube, and a lot of people I've met at the OVW locker room that are
Very
very
cool.
nice, and I would
Because
love to go out there and work.
when I talk to people, they most people always say like AEW, WWE, New Japan. So to hear that you're wanting to go to the bigger independents, which is great, because I think, just myself personally, the independent scene is on the up and up, and has been for a while.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. It would also be nice to go to AEW and or WWE, but at the same time, that's I would love a career in professional wrestling, like getting paid thousands of dollars and going to like be on TV for it. But at the same time, I would rather put a lot of energy into acting and stuff like that, and kind of like focusing on that and getting big on that, and not having a super strict schedule
Yeah,
to where I
yeah,
couldn't be
I understand
able
that.
to do
Now,
so.
as far as acting, what kind of stuff have you done?
I've done a couple of films, short films, couple commercials, stuff like that, and I'm working on getting an agency right now, like for representation, and hopefully one day, sooner rather than later, going to uh, LA and stuff like that, and kind of making
There
it
you go.
uh,
I've heard that.
the job.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that, and of
Also
course I haven't
plays
tried
too,
it, but I've
so.
heard that acting can be not so much brutal, but hard to get into. Uh, and then, of course, there's a lot of things that come along with that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely cutthroat, but it's no more um, cutthroat than how wrestling is. Everybody wants to be number one, so you're constantly like in the rankings for number one, and you got to respect the hustle from some people, and then if they're better than you have to kind of just take that in, and then you got to prove why you're better for the next thing. So there's tons of projects always coming out. There's tons of work to be done, and I feel as if it's better than wrestling in that aspect for people lifting you up and into the number one spot. There's always a helping hand in acting that I've seen so far. Um, Not the case sometimes in wrestling. Sometimes people are like using your top of your head to get to the top, and you kind of
Right.
gotta
That,
fight for
and of
your
course,
spot no matter where it
like
is.
anything with the difference between wrestling and acting, you're not being as physical, so you can do it longer. But you know, I think that that acting could be fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely a good getaway from the everyday, and it's super fun to just be creative. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always said I want to be a professional wrestler and an actor simultaneously. That was always the goal when I was a kid, and also an opera singer. But I'm glad I gave up on that because I cannot sing at all, especially opera. So I don't know where that came from. I saw one musical when I was little, and I was like, "This is it.
And
This is my third option," but
having
it's not.
wanting to be a wrestler and wanting to be an actor, I think that there's a lot of similarities there too. So
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
the
So I'm
gimmicks and
curious,
everything
and
like that.
I
It kind of
ask
goes
everyone
hand in
this, but
hand.
I've got two different questions for you. When it comes down to the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, who would your top four be? And then as far
Mhm.
as acting, do you have a top four for actors as well, past or present?
Also, my four favorite and both. Um, so the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, I think for me would be um, Taz, Um, let's see. That's a really good question. So Taz, Bam Bam, uh, The Rock, and obviously Batista. He has to be on there. Um, and then for acting, I would say Ewan McGregor, Benedict Cumberbatch, Sam
And
Rockwell,
I couldn't agree more. I mean,
uh,
they're all
and
very,
Bob Odenkirk.
yeah, they're all very good at what they do.
That would be my four
Um,
for both.
so I, I know I found you on Instagram. Are you on any other social media platforms at all? I know I found you on Instagram, but are you on any other social media platforms?
I'm sorry. Yeah. So I uh, I have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Um, it my Twitter and the Facebook tag is
Very
me,
cool.
Selena
Well, I don't want
D,
to keep you too
as
too
well
awful
as
long.
the Instagram one.
There you go. I don't want to keep you too
Got to
awful
make it
long. I
consistent.
appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to chat with me. It's been a lot of fun.
No problem. Well, I hope to talk to you again, and I'm glad
Definitely.
that
I
you had a
appreciate
good
it a lot. I
time,
hope you
and
have
I
a
hope
great
some
night.
people
Hopefully we can
really
do it
like
again.
listening. So,
All right.
no
Have a great
problem,
one.
bud, and I hope we can too. You have a good night, and stay mean.